And I'm joined now by the fourth presidential candidate we've had on the show this morning, Republican Governor of Ohio, John Kasich. Welcome back to Meet the Press, sir.
Always, if it's Sunday, it's like Meet the Press.
I appreciate that,
isn't it?
Well, I've had two U.S. senators on this morning who say that the U.S. Senate shouldn't even bother considering a nomination that President Obama puts up. Does the U.S. Senate have an obligation to at least consider it, hold a hearing, and if they vote it down, they vote it down? But should the U.S. Senate, should Mitch McConnell at least open up that part of the process?
Well, that's their decision, Chuck. As the governor of Ohio, I have to deal with legislators and their decisions, and I don't try to tell them what to do. I do think that really the president, I understand the president has prerogative here. I got that. Senate has a prerogative too, of course, but I just think at a time when the country is so divided, it would just be great if the president didn't send somebody forward and we had an election, and then everybody would be clear about what they want in the next Supreme Court justice. But I guess it's not going to go that way.
It's a roll of the dice.
It's just going to cause...
Governor, it's a roll of the dice. You could have a Democratic Senate,
a
Democratic president, and come in and then have a more liberal justice than what President Obama might provide.
Well, but that's life. I mean, then the people actually have had some say. It's really kind of a unique thing when you think about it, Chuck. It's unique to say that the public itself is going to have sort of an indirect vote on who's going to be a Supreme Court justice. I think that's kind of cool. And what I don't like now is, we could talk about this all day long. You and I both know in the real world, they're not going to confirm anybody unless they pick somebody who's so beloved that everybody goes, that's great, okay? I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, you're probably right on that. Let me move to the debate. And I got to play this one clip from you last night because I want to get a better explanation of what you meant. Here it is.
I got to tell you, this is just crazy, huh? This is just nuts, okay?
That was after Jeb Bush and Donald Trump were going at each other. What did you mean by that comment? Explain.
Well, I mean, it's like all the yelling and screaming and back and forth. Chuck, what I have found, and I tell you, I'm having a time of my life, people want to know what you're for. They don't really, look, I've been all over. Yesterday, I went to this barbecue shack. There were 500 people waiting there. I was there, taking pictures. Must have been another 45 minutes after I got done speaking. And people are grabbing onto you saying, please stay positive. Please don't get into these fights. And I get my energy by being for things. I don't get my energy by being against things. And I think people tend to get negative when they're not selling their own positive. So, look, that's where I am. And if it works out for me, great. If it doesn't work out for me, I'll get to spend more time with my family. But, look, I want to win, and we're doing well. Really well.
Let me point to something. There was something last night you said at the debate. You said you didn't think we should have gone into Iraq if there weren't any weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
But you also said we should not get embroiled in civil wars overseas.
That's right.
Well, we've done it before.
Correct.
We did it with Bosnia. Was that the right call?
We did it with Lebanon.
And we did it with Lebanon.
Chuck, we did it. Let me tell you. You know how I voted on Lebanon? Yeah. Well, Libya was a terrible mistake. Frankly, that's something that people ought to be thinking about in regard to Hillary. They talk about Benghazi, which is very legitimate. Of course it is. But we should never have deposed Gaddafi. That was a terrible mistake. The guy was working with us, and now we've created chaos in that country. Look, I was not in favor of U.S. troops in Lebanon, and I voted against it, even when Reagan wanted them there.
Right.
Tip O'Neill wanted them there. Then when they got blown up, Tip was out blaming Reagan, and I never forget it. Civil wars, never getting in between since the 6th century, Sunni and Shia have been fighting, and we want to get in the middle of that?
So you'd stay out of Syria?
It makes no sense.
You'd stay out of Syria?
I would only go to Syria to destroy ISIS. I would not use U.S. troops to depose Assad. But I would support the rebels there. It's okay to support those people who share your view. But for the United States to be embroiled in a civil war in Syria against Assad, I think is a big mistake.
You've also been critical of how the surplus that you, as a Republican budget leader and working with the Clinton administration, you guys forged a budget that gave us surpluses, and it was projecting surpluses throughout the first part of the 21st century.
Right.
It was gone immediately. One way, many Democrats have said one of the reasons why that surplus went away so quickly was due to the Bush tax cuts. Do you concur with that? Were the Bush tax cuts too big?
No, I think it was spending, Chuck. And the dirty little secret is Democrats love to spend, and Republicans do too. It's just that Republicans feel guilty. Look, if you don't have a leader that stands in the breach to restrain the spending of government, they'll always spend.
I'm going to leave it there.
Okay, Chuck.
I appreciate it. We'll catch up,
Thank
I'm
you.
sure, in the next week or so.
Yeah,
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.